Good morning. It's a beautiful day in southern Arizona. A few clouds in the sky, but temperatures are lovely. I just want to talk about circumcision in Galatians and what's important to understand about it, because I never understood this for years. And when I understood this, it began to make sense out of Paul's whole argument. So what is circumcision? Is it just the act of circumcision that Paul was so against? Paul was not against circumcision in and of itself, but he was against what it represented in those days. Timothy was circumcised. Titus wasn't. Why? Because Paul brought Titus to the apostles in Jerusalem to see if they would force him to be circumcised, and they didn't. Why? So, what did circumcision represent? Circumcision represented converting to Judaism, a Gentile becoming a Jew and coming under the Jewish gatekeeper system. What do I mean by that? I mean that in Second Temple Judaism, a whole system was developed for how a Gentile could become a Jew. Now, this is not unbiblical in the sense that in the Old Covenant, you had to join the nation of Israel if you wanted to draw near to Yahweh, because they had the temple or the tabernacle, they had the priesthood, they had everything that represented Yahweh. And having Yahweh is having the Most High, having the Creator God. So, in the Old Covenant, a Gentile did have to join Israel. But in Judaism, from the Second Temple on, all the way into Yeshua's day, there was a system that was developed. And this is the A-law system that Paul talks about in Galatians. What it represented was a Gentile going through this process, which included having a purifying mikvah or baptism, making a temple sacrifice, going to halakha classes, if you will, much like catechism for Catholics, learning the doctrines, learning how to walk properly in the religion of Judaism. This is not Torah, this is Judaism. This is all the traditions and oral laws that were added to the Torah that Yeshua came against. For instance, picking a grain of wheat on the Sabbath to eat it if you're hungry. That was a tradition that was considered wrong in Second Temple Judaism, but was not against Torah. And there's myriads of them. So a Gentile would have to learn these things, and then he would come before a bet din, or a three-panel judge system that would determine if they were okay to become or to take the next step, which would be circumcision. Circumcision was the final step that allowed a Gentile to become a Jew. In the New Covenant, you don't have to join the Jews. You don't have to join Israel as a physical nation. Yeshua said to the woman in Samaria that in Gerizim, they worshipped. They had a temple there, and the Jews worship in Jerusalem. But a time is coming and now is when the true worshipers of the Father will worship in spirit. Not the Spirit, in spirit. From inside and in truth. Thy Torah, thy law is truth. Psalm 119. So, in the New Covenant, Yeshua is the gatekeeper of covenant, not the nation of Israel. So, these guys were coming into Galatia saying, you must be circumcised. You must come under our authority, and we'll determine if you can come into covenant with the Most High, with Yahweh. And Paul is saying, no, if you do that, then what Yeshua did means nothing. The new covenant means nothing. If you must be part of a physical, earthly, genetic people, then what Yeshua did means nothing. So in the bottom line of this all, what Paul is arguing is that that system is over with. And if you read right at the end of Galatians, he says, the true Israel of God. Blessed is the Israel of God, made up of Jews and Gentiles. See, this is not about whether or not you should obey the commandments of God. It's whether or not you need to come under a physical nation to be part of God's people. Paul is saying that in Messiah, in Yeshua, when we come into the covenant he's established, we are part of the covenant people. And then obviously, you are to walk faithful in that covenant. But that's a whole nother subject. So I hope this is helpful. Have a good day. See you next time.